And so in some municipalities, for example, the town of Southampton on Long Island, they just couldn't quite take that step. And so what they did is that they created a law where the ethics board had investigative authority, they had subpoena power, they would hold a hearing and so forth. They do the investigation, they do the hearing, they would then make a public finding of a violation. If they found there's a violation, that would be a public document. They would release that public document to the town of Southampton town board, which then would actually impose the penalty. Is that the best way to go? No, it's clearly not. On the other hand, if you can't go the whole route, at least if you make that public finding with a recommended penalty, we recommend that this person be fined $5,000, and for the Board of Selectmen or town board, you're the ones, as the ball is now in your court, you're the ones that have to do this, then the politics come to bear, the newspaper, the press comes to bear, and they either do it or they don't. Yeah. That can be a second best alternative to an independent board that imposes a civil fine.
Put them on the hot seat, so to speak.
So to speak. Yeah.
Okay. I have a few hypotheticals I'd just like to go over with you, if you don't mind. Mr. Jones has been an insurance agent for the town of Oz for over 15 years. Recently, his wife was elected to the town board. Provided that she recuses herself in regard to any matters relating to her husband's business, 1, may she serve on the town board?
That's a good hypothetical. In New York State, the answer would be no for municipalities outside New York City. This is one of the examples of a prohibited interest provision, and prohibited interest provisions create a lot of mischief sometimes for smaller municipalities. And the answer under New York State law, for example, would be no. Many municipalities outside New York State do not have a prohibited interest provision, and so as long as there's recusal, it will be okay. The problem with the prohibited interest provision, that is a provision that prohibits you from having an interest, an ownership interest in a company that does business with your municipality, or a imputed ownership interest, because if it's your spouse, that's imputed to you. Right. The problem with that is you can cut out a lot of good people. One thing you have to make sure that your ethics laws don't do is that the only people that can serve in municipal government are people that don't know anything about anything and have no contacts with anything and have never done anything. Are they conflict-free? Sure. But they're also, hopeless.
Right. Well, number 2, may the town renew its insurance contract through Mr. Jones when it expires?
Under New York State law for municipalities outside New York City, the answer would be no, they couldn't renew it. There's a grandfather provision that she could become a town board member, but they could never renew the contract.
Okay. Another question, a town zoning board of appeals member requires a use variance to add a deck onto her home. Provided she recuses herself, may the zoning board of appeals member apply for the variance?
That's another good question. And that raises the issue with respect to how do you deal with ethics code provisions that, because they're targeted, because they're specific, because they're bright line, they can also be overbroad. I mean, if I'm on a zoning board, it seems like I should have the same right as every citizen to build a deck onto my house. And so some codes will allow you to appear on your own behalf, not you, but at least someone on your behalf to appear before your own agency. If a general member of the public could also appear, but you have to be very, very careful, because the public's perception, if there's a lot of opposition to building this deck, the public's perception is the fix is in. Right. Of course she's going to get the variance. So most ethics codes would probably prohibit this.
And the second part of that, if the zoning board of appeals denies the variance, may she bring proceedings against the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Yeah, and in New York State, that's somewhat of an issue of New York State law. There's a prohibition on having an interest in a contract with a municipality, and a zoning variance, for example, is not a contract with a municipality, but a claim against the municipality, which would include a lawsuit against the municipality, is in fact a contract with municipality. It's an odd definition. So under New York State law, that would be prohibited. Again, I think that's a questionable provision.
Okay. Another hypothetical. A town board goes out for sealed bids on the construction of a new town hall. One of the town board members is employed by a contractor that intends to bid on the project, so the town board member recuses himself on both sides of the bidding process. He does not discuss the bidding process or the project with any official of the town or with anyone in the company, and is not privy to any confidential information relating to the bidding process or the project, either at the town or at the company. Has the town board member violated anything?
The answer in New York State law would be yes, because there is an absolute prohibition on having an interest in a contract with your municipality if you have any power with respect to that contract. Recusal doesn't matter, sealed bids don't matter. That in New York State has been a very mischievous provision. It's a good example that you've given of how an ethics provision can in fact work against the municipality, because what it means is that if you're in a small municipality, local businesses with whom the town has to do business can't serve on any of their boards, which is not a good provision. So that's another provision that illustrates how you have to be very, very careful when you draft these ethics laws, that you're not excluding people that you don't want to exclude. And in addition, it points out again the seriousness of using a prohibited interest provision as opposed to prohibited conduct. That is, if the prohibition is simply you can't take any action to benefit your business, then recusal would be enough. If the provision is you can't have any interest in a business doing business with the municipality, then recusal is not enough. And that may be a problem. This has been a huge, huge problem in upstate New York.
Would the answer be the same if the company is awarded the contract?
Yeah, because then you have a clear violation. Under state law, under New York state law, you have an interest in a contract with your municipality.
And would the answer be the same if the town board member is not employed by the company, but the company is a partnership, and the town board member's wife owns a 4% partnership interest? Yeah,
the answer would be the same. You'd be prohibited because you are deemed to have an interest in your spouse's company.
Okay. And we're getting close to time end, but I have one more I'd like to just go over. Mr. Stevens, who's a real estate broker and also sits on the Village Board of Trustees, brokers a deal for the sale of a lot by Mr. Smith to Mr. Jones. The sale is contingent, however, upon Mr. Jones being able to sell an adjoining lot to the village. When the issue of the sale of the lot to the village comes before the board, Mr. Stevens discloses his interest and recuses himself. The village approves the sale and purchases the lot. Is there any problem there?
Under state law, New York state law, there would be a problem because you're prohibited from having what they call a contingent interest in something. That is, it's contingent upon action by your agency. So it would be prohibited. Here again, there's some question as to whether such a provision works against the municipality.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned a minute ago, we're running up towards the end of our show, so we're going to wrap up now. Again, I'd like to thank our guest, Mark Davies, the Executive Director of New York City's Conflict of Interest Board, for appearing on our show. And Mr. Davies can be reached at the Conflicts of Interest Board by calling 212-442-1400 or by email at davies@coib.nyc.gov. And as I mentioned in the earlier show, this in no regard is reflective upon the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board or New York State, not any representation on their behalf. Though Mr. Davies works for the City of New York, certain tenets, ethic tenets are universal, and it's crucial that we hold our appointed and public officials to higher standards. I'd like to remind our viewers that our air dates are on Charter Channel 21 are on Mondays at 4:30 and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Segments from the show we put up on YouTube, and that can be accessed at www.youtube.com/BrookfieldPublicAdvo. And we would love to hear from you. If you have any thoughts, comments, guests you'd like to see, please email us at brookfieldpublicadvocate@yahoo.com. Again, thank you for watching, and good evening.